ready to hand down a punishment.
For life.
He's spitting. A child is dead. A murder happened.
How could you?
Oh my God. This case happened a couple of years ago. The video we're gonna watch is from just a couple of months ago. But when I started reading the story, I couldn't believe that somebody could try to have this much of a pity party for themselves. Christina Pangalangan was 13 years old and she had cerebral palsy. So when her mother, Rita, left her in a hot car in 2019 for 5 hours so she could go upstairs and do drugs with her new boyfriend, Christina could not get out of the car. She could not let herself out of the car. She couldn't scream for help. She couldn't do anything except for sit in the hot car. It's about 5.5 hours, almost 6 hours. She was in the car. And after that, her mother went to trial for this, as well as the boyfriend, because there were multiple times. First of all, she should have never been left in the car. I mean, this is silly, but there were multiple times that they could have come in and saved her. They did not. And then afterwards, during the sentencing for Rita, she decided to have a little pity party for herself on the stand because she didn't want to go to jail.
Who frickety who?
This video, it's from Law and Crime Network. It says, Judge rips special needs child killer, locks her up for nearly 4 decades after she begs for mercy. I only saw the beginning part of this and I couldn't believe it. This is her. Audio's a little muddy, but you can hear the subtitles, all right? Just bear with me.
What happened that day was the worst, most tragic mistake of my life. It was the worst day of my life. I would have never hurt my baby. I can't believe that I was convicted of murder.
I would have never hurt my baby. I can't believe that I was convicted of murder. What? When you think about the crime itself and then saying that, you actually aren't taking any accountability. All the stuff she was saying a minute ago, you're not taking any accountability at all.
Because what happened was not murder. It was negligent and something that whether I'm in prison or home, I will regret for the rest of my life. And I can't wait to be with my baby girl. Please, Your Honor, if you can consider giving me a minimum.
Please, Your Honor, give me the minimum. Yo, screw this lady. You're kidding me. Leaving your child in a hot car for 5 hours is not negligent. That's a choice. This is crazy to me. Give me the minimum? Let me let this play. I gotta hear what the judge says to her.
And know that I would have never, ever stood outside that car and watched my baby suffer. I loved her more than anything in this world. And I'll tell you what, Larry loved her too. Larry would never have hurt her. We were arguing that day, and we put ourselves in front of her. I lost total track of time. But it was not murder, it was not intentional.
Her response to murdering her child is, I lost track of time. How could I barely hear your plea, your begging for mercy, and it's still that fucking bad? That's insane.
Anything else you want to tell me?
Oh! I hear you, but I'm not listening. Anything else you want to say before I blast you into oblivion, Rita?
The conduct of the defendants in this case, true, is being represented now by the defense. It's not a traditional murder. It's not where you pull a gun and shoot someone in the head. But your conduct can become so extremely reckless that it constitutes a willful disregard for human life and constitutes murder. To place the child in a burning car, in effect, and walking away.
You don't leave living people, animals, things you love in hot cars. This is like the bare minimum. We even know as a society that if we walk by a car and an animal or person seems like they are trapped in there, to call the police.
To place the child in a burning car, in effect, and walking away. is murder. To leave a child in a car for 6 hours under the circumstances that occurred in this case is murder. It's not one of the situations that we see, and there have been studies most recently where people forget about the child, believe that they have dropped the child off for daycare and various things.
Look, that does not apply here. Does anyone know? Did she try to say she forgot?
But that's not this situation.
Oh, no.
Where there's absolute, total disregard for the child, considering that the two of you were there around the car any number of times without doing anything to save this child's life and contributing to the child's death. And all the good things I've heard today, being a teacher, being a concerned person, being a wonderful friend, a person of faith. That wasn't a person there on that day when you all were on this drug binge, at least as described by.
Yes, if you guys missed that, I just want to remind you, yes, she was 13 years old, but she had severe cerebral palsy and she could not scream for help. She couldn't yell for help. She couldn't get herself out of her seat. She was strapped in the car and literally could not get out for 6 hours.
The offense that you committed was murder. And that's all there is to it.
While they were doing drugs.
Love the opportunity to turn back the hands of time, but you can't do it. Of course, you will continue to suffer for what happened to your child, but for being strung out on meth. And I've seen it time and time again. Was it methamphetamine we're dealing with? Yeah. But for methamphetamine and dealing with it, neither of the two of you would be here. But those were decisions that you all made. And to the extent your minds were just totally contorted, and I don't know the minds of a person on meth, but I paid close
Can't relate to whatever you guys were dealing with over there.
to the witness who testified convincingly about the effects of methamphetamine on the brain. It's as if you didn't have a brain on that day.
He's spitting.
I see it all the time with children, people who we deal with all the time. I call them children, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, people who do these same types of things, kill people because they're strung out on drugs, high on drugs. A life sentence for them is more than the lifespan that you're talking about, because they're going to prison at age 20, 21, 22, 23 for life.
You know what's bothering me? I am eating up every single word that he's saying. I'm like, he's telling it, but I know that Rita over there is just sitting here thinking like, when's he gonna say what the sentence is? When am I gonna know? Did I get the minimum or not? She's not listening to nothing he's saying.
You don't have the excuse that they might come in here with. Of course, none of it is acceptable. They will come in, strung out on drugs, parents strung out on drugs, all kinds of things that play into them going wayward, going astray. And for you, a person who had a good reputation in the community, to throw it away chasing drugs and then coming and asking me for leniency, didn't care anything about the child. Just left the child there to die while they're pursuing each other.
I also think it's really gross a minute ago that she tried to say we both cared about her. She was trying to say that she and the new boyfriend that she was doing meth with, the man that put the child in the car, we cared about her. No, you didn't. When you say stuff like that, it just discredits every other little thing that you were saying.
How could you all do such a thing?
Dude.
And you could do such a thing because you're hooked on drugs, hooked on meth.
I divorced my first husband because he was an addict.
Mm-hmm.
I do not do drugs. I never did drugs.
But that's a lot. That's not true. She was on drugs. They were upstairs doing drugs. That's what they were doing. They were getting high. So, anyways.
A mother who's not under the influence would leave their child in a car under those circumstances for 5-6 hours, who knew the child was in the car and knew the child had been in the car for that period of time, and drive off and leave the child. How could you?
He ain't letting her get out of this.
It doesn't help me clarify in my mind who is the most culpable out of this situation, or are they equally culpable? Whose conduct was the most extreme? The mother who abandons her child in that setting and does nothing to rescue the child, who chooses Mr. King and her own pleasure over the child, or Mr. King, who throws the child, or he didn't throw it, places the child in the back of the car and shows no concern, compassion, or anything for the child, and in effect joins with the mother in the treatment of the child.
Wow. So that the judge is trying to evaluate right now, like, who's more at fault? Was it him or was it the mother? Because, of course, we are shocked that she would do that to her own child. Like, it's hard to believe that the case is about her own child, because that's just insane. And we have to remove that shock with the parent-child relationship, and he has to evaluate, okay, well, between the two of them, who really is the most culpable? I don't know. I'm not a judge.
In my mind, I'm trying to make that determination because I'm going to have to sentence each one of them to a period of years. They might get the same. One might get 30, one might get 40, one might get 50.
Oh.
They might each get the same.
Oh, I love hearing a judge that's ready to hand down a punishment when there is no doubt in his mind. He said, who's going to get it? A child is dead. A murder happened.
And somebody's responsible.
Somebody's getting 40, 50 years. Point blank, period.
And I'm not attempting to pit one against the other. I'm just
letting you know what the dilemma is.
All right, Mr. King, if you'll come around for sentencing.
They're both. He's about to do both of their sentencing? Oh, Jesus. Okay. This is the boyfriend that was involved. He's the one that put her in the car to begin with. They are both responsible for this.
Mr. King is sentenced to the court on the offense of murder that you be committed to the State Department of Corrections for a period of 32 years. Great bodily injury, the sentence is 20 years. Sentences will run concurrent with credit for any time that you've already served.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
It genuinely makes me so happy when we get a little justice, or at least a semi-appropriate sentence for these types of things. All too often, people bullshit in court and get away with it sometimes. No, these two pieces of shit, they're going away for 50 years.
Sentences will run concurrent with credit for any time that you've already served.
I thought we got a consecutive. Do you guys think he's going to give the mom more time?
A lot of folks have said a lot of good things about you and a lot of positive impacts that you've made on their lives. You're not being sentenced to death. You won't be facing a firing squad or a gas chamber or electric chair.
What the fuck? I'm like, wait, how did we get here? Okay, continue.
Your life goes on, but it'll go on behind bars.
Oh.
And you'll still have that same opportunity to make a positive impact on the lives of other people who you encounter. And I hope you do that. I simply cannot fathom a mother treating a child the way that you did and allowing that to happen to a child, to your child. Yeah.
Girl, shut up.
I don't know if the child at some point became a burden. I don't know what the circumstances were that would lead you to placing the child in that situation. And as if you left and went to Atlanta, Georgia, or maybe we'll say not Charleston, to Myrtle Beach, and went there and got in the beach in the water a few hours, and then came back, and then decided that it's a frantic situation. You did it. Mm-hmm. You have to live with it.
Yes.
And as bad as the conduct of Mr. King was, yours was worse.
Ooh.
In my mind.
When you hear this case, you cannot fathom how a mom can do that to her child.
Sentence of the court is that you be committed to the State Department of Correction for a period of 37 years
Ooh.
on murder,
Ooh.
20 years on great bodily injury. Sentences will run concurrent, and you'll receive credit for time served.
So he said that the sentences run concurrently. If the sentences run consecutively, it means that she serves 30 years and then 20 years after that, so 50 total. But if it's concurrent, she's serving both at the same time. So it's like whatever number is the bigger one is how many she actually gets. We just watched the sentencing. This was before this, the actual verdict.
We, the jury, in the above caption, on the charge of murder of Christina Ann Pangalani, find the defendant guilty. Oh my God!
Shut up! How are you shocked? Really? Did you really think you were going to murder your 13-year-old disabled child and then they were just going to let you go f***ing home to do more meth? Oh my God!
We find the defendant guilty. Oh my God. We, the jury, in the above caption case, on the charge of criminal conspiracy, find the defendant not guilty. And it's signed by the foreperson.
Yes.
Signed by
No,
the
you don't need to call the name of the foreperson.
Shocking.
Signed by the
Shocking,
foreperson.
Rita.
Do not.
State of South Carolina versus Larry Eugene King. Indictments.
So this is for a boyfriend.
GS 15 00780. 2022 GS 15 00709. And 2022 GS 15 00813. We, the jury, in the above caption case on the charge of murder of Christina Ann Pangalani, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury,
Bye. Goodbye to both of you. They were inside of her boyfriend's apartment. Like they left the child in the car and then went inside to an apartment. You have to be kidding me, bro. Imagine the pity part. Guys, we've seen too much today. We've seen too much.